Hello everyone, I'm Coach Effler and along with Coach Spurlock, we are your History Department. Well, Coach Spurlock, it's Friday, got a great weekend coming up. This Sunday, November 11th, we have a very special holiday, don't we?
It's a very special holiday. It's something that we teach in our history classes, so we want to make sure that we make you guys aware of it. It's Veterans Day. It's always on November the 11th, and there's a certain reason for that, Coach, isn't there?
It was the end of World War I, which happens to be 100 years ago this Sunday.
100 years, wow.
Yes, November 11th, but it wasn't just November 11th. It was at 11 a.m. on the 11th day of the 11th month that the armistice was declared to end World War I.
That's correct, that's correct. And so it was a holiday that we celebrated right after World War I to acknowledge, the peace in the world. But then later on, it took on a new meaning because I believe in 1954, President Eisenhower passed a new law. What exactly was that?
Armistice Day, instead of honoring the veterans of World War I, now became Veterans Day, honoring the veterans of all wars. So Armistice Day is now known as Veterans Day all the way to honor all of our nation's veterans. But there's two holidays that honor our nation's veterans, aren't there?
There's actually two, yes. We have Veterans Day, which is coming up on Sunday, but we also have another holiday which takes place every May.
At the end of school.
Right at the end of school. It's called Memorial Day.
And what's the difference?
There's a difference because on Veterans Day, we want to honor all of the veterans. Now, a veteran is anybody who served in the American Armed Forces, all right? But Memorial Day, we specifically look at the veterans who passed away during combat.
Big difference there. If you get a chance this weekend, please thank a veteran for their service. In fact, you can do that right here at Holloway High School. We happen to have two veterans on staff.
We do. It's amazing. We got two guys that served in the military right here at our school. The first one, Dr. Rolette. Which branch of the service was he in?
He was in the United States Air Force.
Okay. And then we also have Mr. Spaulding, and he was in the Army, if I'm not
He was
mistaken.
an officer in the United States Army, I believe.
Okay.
Yes.
So make sure that if you guys see them today, thank them for their service, and any other veteran that you may come in contact with, make sure that you let them know that we really appreciate everything that they did so that we could live in a free country today.
Veterans Day. Let's take a short look now with this short video.
Soldiers from wars both old and new march down city streets. Flags hang from homes, businesses, even car antennas. Ceremonies remember those who dutifully served their nation. It's Veterans Day, or Remembrance Day, as it's known in much of the world, a time to honor members of the armed forces. And it all began in a railroad car with a document to end the war to end all wars. World War I, also known as the Great War, shocked the global community with its unprecedented toll in human life. Untold millions were killed. Germany was running low on manpower and supplies, so they agreed to sign an armistice, or truce, in the French commander Ferdinand Foch's private rail car. On the 11th hour, on the 11th day of the 11th month of 1918, all was quiet on the Western Front. The fighting had ended. Exactly 1 year later, President Woodrow Wilson decreed that Americans should observe a moment of silence at 11 a.m. to remember the armistice and to embrace the peace. Other Allied nations commemorated the peaceful anniversary as well. In England and Canada, citizens wore paper poppies. Poppies had become a symbol of the armistice. The poem Flanders Field described a one-time battlefield. In Flanders Field, the poppies blow, between the crosses, row on row. In America, the nation's first unknown soldier was laid to rest at Arlington National Cemetery on Armistice Day, 1921. He was a casualty of the Great War. Since that first memorial, other unknown soldiers from America's wars have been interred in the tomb. And it's become tradition for the president or one of his representatives to lay a wreath on the monument every November 11th. A resolution was passed in 1926 inviting all Americans to remember Armistice Day and the soldiers who fought so hard for peace. The idea caught on. By 1938, the day was marked with so many ceremonies and parades, Congress made it a legal holiday, giving people the day off work. After World War II and the Korean War, Americans wanted to open up the holiday to include not just World War I veterans, but all who served in combat. In 1954, President Dwight Eisenhower, a World War II vet himself, legally changed the U.S. Armistice Day to Veterans Day, honoring those who served in all American wars. For a brief time, starting in 1971, Congress moved the holiday to the fourth Monday in October, giving Americans a 3-day weekend. But most people rejected the idea. The traditional date of November 11th, the anniversary of the Great War's ceasefire, was too historically important to forget. President Ford reversed the law in 1975, returning Veterans Day back to its rightful date. Over the decades, the holiday has changed with the times. Originally, it was a call for world peace. Then in the U.S., it became a day to remember war veterans. Today, Veterans Day is set aside to honor not just those who served in war, but also those who have served their nation in peace.